Neighbourhood character is what visually differentiates one neighbourhood from another. It is measured by a selection of attributes that relate to landscape, vegetation, and the built environment. Importantly, it is the combination of these attributes in both the private and public realm that establishes the neighbourhood character of an area. Identifying neighbourhood character areas allows us to define what it is that makes an area special to its community. Defining these key attributes helps to ensure that new development responds to existing character values and fits in as much as possible. State government policy sets rules for housing growth that require each council to provide both a neighbourhood character strategy and a housing strategy. While the neighbourhood character strategy identifies the attributes of an area that need to be enhanced, the housing strategy seeks to identify the most appropriate locations for increased housing growth. Preparing both documents allows for a balance between enhancing existing neighbourhood character and providing sufficient growth and diversity in housing supply to meet Melbourne's needs. This state-level policy direction will encourage housing growth in locations that are close to amenities, including public transport, employment, and community facilities. This means that increased housing development will occur in established areas. As specified at the state government level, it is not the role of neighbourhood character to limit or stop new development. However, through the development of a neighbourhood character strategy, it can implement guidelines designed to ensure that new development responds to the valued character of an area and fits in as best as possible. This video will introduce the key attributes that contribute to neighbourhood character, providing visual examples of each attribute filmed from various locations across Nillumbik Shire. The specific qualities of the attributes shown throughout this video are indicative and based on preliminary desktop research. The architectural style attribute relates to the features of a house that make it stand out. These include the era that it was built, the materials that it was constructed with, the shape of the roof, and the height of the building. Nillumbik Shire contains a wide range of houses from different eras, including post-war houses built between 1945 and 1960. Examples include austerity-style houses made from brick, as well as workers' cottages made from timber weatherboard. Mud brick and other similar alternative construction styles appear as a contributing feature in a number of residential areas in the Shire. Nillumbik also features modern houses built between 1960 and 1980. These houses are typically constructed in the internationalist style, featuring brick and timber detailing. Contemporary houses built from 1980 onwards typically comprise concrete render, brick veneer, glass, steel, and other materials. Roof styles can vary in shape and size and can be constructed in a variety of materials including tin and tile. Height is also a key feature, with houses ranging from 1 to 2 and even 3 stories. Architectural styles vary across Nillumbik. Examples of housing eras, materials, roof styles, and height are present across the entire Nillumbik Shire. Setbacks refer to the space between a house and the street, or a house and a side or rear boundary. Setbacks are an important attribute when considering neighbourhood character, as they contribute to the rhythm and spacing of a streetscape. Setbacks between a street and a house can be short or long. And setbacks between houses can be narrow or wide. Setbacks vary across the Shire. Typically, shorter, uniform setbacks are located in areas including Greensborough, Eltham, Diamond Creek, and Hurstbridge. Longer, inconsistent setbacks are more prevalent in areas such as Plenty, Yarrambat, St Andrews, Panton Hill, and North Warrandyte.
Front fences can make a streetscape feel open and spacious, depending upon their height or material. Front fence styles range from low and open to high and solid. In some areas, no fencing is present. Front fence material and character is often related to the period of the development, with more formal front fences in earlier post-war development, while later development periods typically have more open informal fencing or no fencing at all. In many areas across Nillumbik, fencing of post and wire construction allows for gardens and vegetation that are integrated with the adjoining roadside. Front fence styles vary across the Shire, with examples of each across all areas. Vegetation makes a significant contribution to the character of any neighbourhood. This is particularly evident in Nillumbik, where vegetation is often one of the key attributes of a neighbourhood's character. Planting in front gardens is often a mix of densely vegetated, native and exotic species. In some cases, landscaping and planting responds to the slope of the land. Planting and the treatment of slopes often aligns with the period of development, and therefore with the architectural style of the dwelling. For post-war development, gardens comprise open lawns and exotic shrubs, often planted in a specimen style, with retaining walls and edges of brick. The absence of fences often leads to a more open relationship between gardens and the streetscape. In modern development, between 1960 and 1980, gardens generally feature mass planting of native and indigenous shrubs and trees, with lawn replaced by broader mulched areas, often retained by timber walls, natural stone walls, or by boulders. In contemporary development, built after 1980, lawns generally become smaller and less visually prominent, with planting beds comprising a mix of native and indigenous species and strongly textured feature planting. Treatment of batters and slopes is often with walls of similar material to the dwelling, creating flat spaces which then relate strongly to the dwelling. Planting in nature strips can be limited to grass with canopy trees in some areas, or densely vegetated with native and indigenous trees and other vegetation. In areas with formal streetscapes, earlier post-war or modern developments are more likely to feature exotic street tree species, while later developments show a greater use of native and indigenous tree species, along with the retention of existing remnant trees. Areas with informal streetscapes are more likely to retain indigenous remnant trees, further contributing to a distinctive neighbourhood character in such areas. Examples of low-level formal planting can be found in locations such as Greensborough, Eltham, Research and Diamond Creek, while high-level dense planting is prominent across most of the Shire.
A neighbourhood's streets can have a distinct impact on character depending on whether they are formal or informal. Formal streets are typically sealed asphalt, featuring concrete footpaths on both sides of the street. Some streets may only have a single footpath. Drainage in formal streetscapes typically consist of concrete rollover curbs or traditional curb and channel layouts. Informal streetscapes typically feature no footpaths, and in some cases are unsealed, with the road surface consisting of gravel or dirt. Drainage in informal streets usually consist of trenches or swales with individual water pipes located under driveways. Formal streets are present in many locations across the Shire, particularly around Greensborough, Eltham and Diamond Creek. Informal streets are most prevalent in locations including North Warrandyte, Panton Hill, St Andrews and Yarrambat. However, there are also examples in locations such as Eltham, Research and Plenty. Many residential areas in Nillumbik Shire are situated on gently undulating hills or steep slopes and valleys. In these areas, houses follow the sloping topography, allowing dramatic views over rooftops to the vegetation and ridgelines on the horizon. In other areas, sloping streets give way to views of houses situated on the sides of escarpments and ridgelines. Gentle and steeply sloping streets are a common feature across much of Nillumbik and, combined with vegetation, contribute significantly to the character of the Shire. Distant views are most commonly afforded from residential areas of Diamond Creek, Greensborough and Eltham. However, intermittent long-range views are present across the Shire. The cumulative impact of each attribute identified in this video will define Nillumbik's neighbourhood character. The Nillumbik Neighbourhood Character strategy will document these attributes across residentially zoned land within the Shire. As part of this strategy, new neighbourhood character areas will be identified, capturing any changes that may have occurred since the original study was undertaken. The neighbourhood character areas will feature preferred future character statements and associated design guidelines that will respond to the key attributes of each area. These will be implemented into the Nillumbik planning scheme to ensure that new development fits in with existing character as best as possible.